right. All right, you guys, I know we got started here just a little bit behind schedule, but we're having a little bit of technical difficulties. Hopefully everything is up and running here smooth. So we are gonna jump in just a second, getting my nail ready to go here. And you guys can see our fun little teaser nails. We're going to be doing some beautiful blooming designs today. We're actually going to be doing some blooming flowers today. And again, these are just our little teasers, so we're going to be doing some similar techniques to those, but I am going to change it up so you guys can see some different things today. So hopefully you are all having a wonderful day today. Thank you guys for joining us. Let me go ahead and pull my chat up, see what you guys have to talk about today. And there we go. All right. Hello everyone. Good to see all of these names in the chat here. Welcome in. All right. I think we're ready to get started. I'm ready to go. I'm excited for our nails today. I think they're going to be a lot of fun. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Actually, I do need my toenail clipper there. I'm just going to shorten up my nails here real quick. We're actually going to be applying 2 nails for you guys today so that you guys can see a couple of different designs. And like I said, we're going to be doing something similar to these, but a little bit different. So just because you're seeing these, we're going to mix it up a little bit and change things up. So just shortening up our nails here, and we're going to be working with our full cover tips today. And when I work with my full cover tips or when I sculpt enhancements, I always like to shorten up that free edge a little bit so that way it doesn't interfere with our extension. So just shortening those nails up a little bit. And also depending on the shape that you're going to be creating or the shape that you're going to be using with your tip, you may need to narrow those free edges in just a little bit. You can kind of see when you're working with more of an almond shape, I do like to taper in that natural nail just a little bit more, so that way it's not going to be hanging out underneath the sides or the edges of our tips. And today, as you may have noticed, we are going to be doing some stiletto nails, so we do want to narrow those edges in just a little bit. All right. So just like I said, we're going to be using our full cover stiletto nails today, and we're going to be doing some really fun designs with those. So just so you guys can see, these are the clear tips that we're going to be using. They are full cover, they are stiletto. So let's get into our prep. So when we're doing prep, let's see, somebody says I can never find almond tips that fit my wide nails. Let's see, I can't see the name on that, sorry, but we do have a couple of different videos here on our YouTube channel to show you how to customize the tips if you're not able to fit them, if your nail is a little bit wider. So make sure to check that out here on our YouTube channel. We do have a great video showing you guys how to do that. We have over 3,000 videos here on our YouTube channel, so make sure to check those out. If you have any kind of questions or need help on techniques, we probably have a video for that. So make sure to check out the rest of our channel here. So I just went through, as I was explaining that, I just went through and pushed back the cuticles. Now I know on our trainer hand, we don't really have a lot of cuticle, but you always want to make sure that you are still staying in that habit of it. Even if you're working on the trainer hand, stay in that habit so that way you know when you actually get to working on a real person or on yourself that you're going to be in that habit of pushing back those cuticles. So never skip that, even if you're working on the trainer hand. Then actually I'm gonna pause there for a second. I was gonna change out my sanding band, but I'm not gonna get to that just yet. I want to push back my cuticles, and if you're working on a real client, that's kind of your time to do a little bit of a consultation with them. So figure out what length they're wanting to do, what shape they're wanting to do, what design or what style, and then we can do our tip sizing. Now I don't size my tips after I do all of my prep because I don't want to be touching this nail if it's already prepped. So I want to make sure that I'm sizing these out before I do my actual prep. And somebody's asking, where did you buy that trainer hand? You guys, this is our Young Nails channel. So everything that I'm using here is Young Nails. You can see the tips are Young Nails. My trainer hand is Young Nails. So everything can be found on our website, youngnails.com. So make sure to check that out. All right, so let's size out our tips here. And you guys, you can kind of see, obviously I use these two sizes quite a bit, and I use them on my trainer hand. So I do know that these are generally the two sizes that I use, but I want to show you some tricks on how to actually size out the tip when you're working on a client or even on your trainer hand. So the first thing you want to check is your C curve. So I'm gonna start with a little bit of a bigger tip here today. So when you're sizing your tips, you want to look at the C curve of that natural nail, but then you also want to look at the C curve of the tip. So what I mean by the C curve is the curve this way, okay? If we look from the side, this is the arch of the nail, so the arch, kind of like an arch bridge. But then if we look down the barrel, that's the C curve, okay? So we want to size out our C curve first, and we want to make sure that the C curve of our natural nail fits the C curve of the tip. Now this one actually looks like it's going to fit pretty good. Our natural nail here is a little bit flatter on the top. This one is also a little bit flatter on the top. Now if we take that tip and then we turn that around and then we hold that onto the nail, this is where we want to check and make sure that they fit from sidewall to sidewall. So from the side over here to the side over here without it overhanging too much off of those edges. Now, today, I'm going to show you guys this. Today we're going to be using our tip and jewel adhesive gel to adhere the tips. And this is a very, very thick gel, okay? If you're going to be using just the regular glue, just a thin glue, you can size your tips out so that they come right to that edge and they don't hang over at all. Okay, but because we're using our tip and jewel adhesive, that's a little bit of a thicker product, it's going to take up space under that well and in between that well and that natural nail. So you want to size the tips out just ever so slightly off the edge, okay? Because when you put that tip on with the gel, it's going to raise it up just a little bit. And I want you guys to look really close here on the sides as I do this. So I'm going to size out my tip so it's hanging off the edge just a little bit there. So when I put it on, that gel is going to take up that space and it's going to lift that tip up, and that tip is going to come right to that edge now and it's not going to overhang. So when you're sizing out the tips and you're using the tip and jewel adhesive, that you want to actually size them out just a little bit larger than you think you should. Okay, now this one I feel like it's hanging off quite a bit on those edges, so I'm going to go to one size smaller. Now keep in mind that you can customize these tips. So say you go a size smaller. Now this one actually looks about right. This one's hanging off, you can see it's hanging off just ever so slightly on that edge, ever so slightly on this edge. I think this tip is the one that I'm going to use. I think this one's going to fit nice. I don't have to really press that down a lot. It's not hanging off the edges too much. But if maybe you were trying to decide between that size and then the size larger, you could go in, if you felt like it fit that C curve really well, but it was just hanging off the edges a little bit, you could go in with your hand file and you could file off those edges just a little bit to kind of taper that. And sometimes when you have more of a flat nail, you want to size it so that that well, if we take a look, that well, that C curve, if you size it a little bit bigger, that C curve is going to fit a little bit better onto a flatter nail. So on a flat nail, you may have to size it a little bit larger and then taper down those edges so that it still fits that C curve, okay? So kind of keep those things in mind as you're sizing out. Now this nail itself looks like it's going to fit really well. I don't have to use a lot of pressure to force that on. I want to make sure that when I'm putting that tip on, I'm not having to force that on and really put a lot of pressure on there. Because what happens is you guys see that as I put pressure on this, yes, it does flatten that out, so it would fit onto a flatter nail. But as soon as I let go, do you see what happens? Is that tip is going to pop back to its original shape. So if you're having issues with your tips popping off, it could be that you're sizing too small and you're really trying to squish that tip on there. So make sure that when you're sizing them, that they do just sit right down on there nice and flush. I'm not using a lot of pressure, it's just gonna sit right on that nail, okay? All right, actually let me grab a second one of these because we've got 2 nails here to do. And then we'll set these off to the side. Now, if we take a look at this, now you guys, you can see there's, as I was filing a little bit, I'm getting a little dust on the finger. That's the reason that I don't go through all of my prep until I've sized out and customized my tips. Because when I customize, I am gonna file a little bit and probably get a little dust on there, and I don't wanna recontaminate that nail, and then I would have to actually do my prep all over again. So keep that in mind as you're doing your sets on your clients. And I think this one, it fits really well, but if you notice right up in this corner, it's a little bit more square. So this tip is a little bit more squared on the corners than my natural nail is here. So I'm just gonna use I'm gonna grab my 180 file buffer combo. So it's got a file on one side, buffer on the other side. I'm gonna use that to just taper those edges a little bit, round out that corner a little bit, so this way it's going to fit into the well of my natural nail a little bit better. So again, just using a 180. You could use your 150 grit files, but I always like to use the 180 sponge buffer or file buffer combo, because you're going to see here as I file, it's going to leave that little bit of a frayed edge. So after I'm done filing, I can just flip over to that buffer side, and I can use that buffer side to remove that little bit of a frayed edge. That way I'm not having to use one file and then try to find my buffer and then another file and another buffer. So it's just an easier technique to use the file buffer combo. You can see that I switch back and forth from one side to the other just to make sure that everything is perfect. So once I have that customized, I'm going to check that again. Now that looks really good. So it's not hanging off that corner at all, and it's going to sit right up into that cuticle area, and it's going to fit right up in there. So we've got that first nail. I'm going to do the same thing on our second nail. This one is sized out as well, but it is hanging off those corners again just a little bit. And we're going to round those out as well. Now you guys, I see a lot of you in the chat. Thank you all for being here. Let me know, did you know that you can customize your full cover tips? Because a lot of times when I see people post pictures, I feel like they haven't customized them. So I want to know, you guys, let me know in the chat, did you know that you can customize your full cover tips, or did you think that you had to just glue them straight on just like they are? Let me know. I want to know what you guys know. And that way I can teach you anything that you don't know, or some things that you don't know. All right, so one more time here, just sizing this out. All right, I think that one looks good, and that first one looked good. All right, now we can go ahead and finish the rest of our prep. So I'm going to set these 2 nails off to the side, and then we can finish the rest of our prep on our nail. So we already, that's the word I'm looking for. We already went through and pushed back the cuticles. Now we can go ahead and remove the shine. Looks like you guys did know that. Fantastic. I love to see that. Love to know that you guys actually know what's going on here. And that must mean that you've been around a little bit. So we're going to go into our removing shine, and I'm going to grab a brand new sanding band. And I tell you guys all the time, always make sure that you're using a brand new sanding band so that you've got a nice clean bit to use. You're going to have everything nice and sanitary, and you're also going to have the proper grit, okay? If you're using a bit or a sanding band that's a little bit more worn down like this one is, you're not going to get the proper texture on that nail. So make sure that you're always working with a nice clean new sanding band to get the proper texture. Oh my gosh, you guys, look at all of you that subscribed. You guys, thank you so much. All of those of you that have subscribed, thank you so much. We appreciate you guys. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Join our community. Keep learning about nails and learn what I'm doing right now. And what that is just gently removing the shine from that natural nail. So when we apply our tips with the tip and jewel adhesive, we want to make sure that we're applying it to a clean, dry, textured surface because our tip is going to adhere a lot better. Our tip and jewel adhesive gel likes to stick to more of a textured surface and a clean, dry surface. So you want to make sure that you're just gently going through, removing that shine from the nail. And especially up around that cuticle area, you want to make sure that you're cleaning up all of that excess protein growth. Now you guys, I just put a little bit of cuticle oil on my nails before we started here, but what we're really looking to clean off of there, and you can kind of see it as I push that back, see that little white flaky stuff? That's what we need to clean off the nail when we're doing our enhancements. And that's what I did right up around that cuticle area with my electric file. I just brought that right into that cuticle area, so that way all of that excess protein growth is going to get cleaned off and that enhancement is going to adhere really well. Now, after we have the shine removed, after we've cleaned up that cuticle area, I'm going to dust off the nail and get that as clean as we can. And right now I'm just using a dry manicure brush. Clean off as much of that dust as you can. And then I'm going to grab my swipe. Somebody's asking in the chat, can I ask you something? Yes, you guys, feel free to put your questions in the chat. I do try to answer them if I can, but sometimes the chat gets moving a little bit quicker than I can see. So I don't always, I'm not able to always answer all of your questions, but sometimes our moderators can help with that as well. So definitely pop your questions into the chat. But what we're using right now is Swipe, and Swipe is our cleanser. And this is, you can see after I've brushed through that nail, it's going to end up, our nail's going to end up nice and clean and dry, and all of those little pieces of dust, any contaminants, any germs, any bacteria, all of that is going to get cleaned off. And once that swipe dries, it's going to leave us with a nice pH balanced surface, a dry surface, an oil-free surface for our product to adhere to. Now, one other thing that I want to show you guys is with our tip and jewel adhesive. I mentioned that it likes to stick to a textured surface, which is exactly what we're going to have here after that nail dries, but it also will like to stick to a tacky surface. So that's where our protein bond comes in. So we're going to apply our protein bond two different places. We're going to apply the protein bond in the well of the tip. Now you guys, you can see I'm going through and just making sure that that well is nice and clean and dust free. And then we're going to take our protein bond and we're going to apply a thin layer of this right in the well. Now protein bond is a bonder, it's not a primer. So all it's going to do is it's going to give this nail a really tacky surface, and then our adhesive gel is going to really adhere to that. Okay, so just one coat in both of the wells on those nails. And then we're also going to use our protein bond on the natural nail. And I just wanted to make sure to wait enough time till that nail dries back to that clean, dry, kind of chalky looking surface. Once it's nice and clean and dry, then you can go in and you can brush in a coat of that protein bond. I start in the center of the nail, work back towards the cuticle, and then just flow all the way through. This way I ensure that I've got enough of that protein bond on the whole nail to give me really good coverage, but then I'm not flooding that product into those sidewalls or back into that cuticle area. I need just a little bit more. And you guys, I think I can mention this because we mentioned it on Twitch earlier today. So if you guys saw on Twitch, on our live stream on Twitch, we are going to be having a sale, a back to school sale coming up. So our protein bond is going to be, there's going to be a little bit of a deal on our protein bond. So make sure that you check out our website starting tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific time. And we're going to have some great deals for you guys. But the protein bond is going to be on a deal. Now, when I'm working on my enhancements, whether it's acrylic, whether it's hard gel, whether it is the tip and jewel adhesive, I always like to apply 2 coats of the protein bond just to really make sure that I've got great coverage with it and I'm going to have a really good bond with my product. Okay? All right. Somebody's asking, do you use full cover tips on customers who have brittle nails? Yes, you can. If you're working on somebody that's got brittle nails and they maybe just want to keep their natural nails short, excuse me, I would actually use our Manicure fiber gel. That is a great product to use on somebody who has split, thin, damaged, brittle nails. But you could, if you're going to be putting tips on, you could definitely use the tip and jewel adhesive that we're going to use today. All right, so I've got my 2 nails here that we're going to put on. Oops, I'm going to set these here right in front of me. I want to make sure that these don't get dusty or anything. So I'm going to leave those sitting on my little plastic there. Now, one other thing I'm going to grab to make my life a lot easier. Actually, I want to show you guys this. This is our Touch Cure light. So this is, I'll show you here. It's on a stand, so it's got a little stand that it sits on. But this is our Touch Cure light, and this is what I'm going to use to freeze the nails into place, because I'm going to do 2 nails. Now, normally if you're doing a full set, you would do 1 nail at a time and freeze it into place under the light. Once you get all 5 nails on the hand done, then you're going to go back into your full UV LED light to completely cure those. But because we're going to be doing these nails 1 at a time, I need to set them into place, and that's where our light comes into play. Let me just turn that on. I'm going to touch the end of it to turn that light off for a second. Now, we're going to grab our tip and jewel adhesive, and I'm also going to be using my dual-ended brush and spatula. So this has a spatula on one end, and then it's got a brush on the other end. Most of the time I just use the spatula, but I'll show you. There's a couple of areas where I'm going to use the brush as well. So I'm going to take a good-sized scoop of my tip and jewel adhesive, tap off those little stringy edges there, and we'll grab our tip. And I'm going to take that product and I'm going to, with a good amount of pressure, I'm going to press that into the well of the tip, drag that all the way back to the cuticle area, and then just bring that out to the edges. Now, I'm not bringing that product all the way to the edges, and you'll see here, I think you can see on camera, there's a little bit of space right through the edges here that I don't have product. And I do that on purpose because when I'm putting these tips on, that adhesive is actually going to squeeze out to the sides a little bit and kind of fill in space. So if you put your product all the way to the edge, a lot of times what can happen is that product is going to squeeze out onto the sides and then it's going to get onto the skin. So you want to make sure that you're leaving just that tiny little bit of space around the edge. Now I do like to use that brush end to just clean up that back edge a little bit. I think I'm going to take a little bit more of that gel and just scoop a little bit more on there to make sure that I've got enough. But again, I can use that brush if I need to clean up any of that gel that maybe snuck off the edge there. Now, I'm going to show you guys this from the side view first so you can see exactly how I'm going to apply the tip. So when you're working, you're not going to just set that tip flat down onto the nail because that could actually cause some air pockets underneath there. Okay, so what you want to do instead is you're going to start with that tip at a slight downward angle. Now notice I'm not right at the cuticle area. I'm going to leave a little bit of space between the tip and the cuticle area so I can set that down and slide it back. By setting that down and then sliding it back, you're going to keep that gel underneath the tip. So if you were to just set this down flat, like I was saying earlier, some of that gel could squeeze out the back edge. We want to make sure that we're keeping that gel on the nail and not touching that cuticle area. So if we set it down, slide it back, it's going to hold that gel underneath the tip, and then we're going to gently rock that down until it adheres to the nail and it's going to press out any of those air pockets. Okay, once we have that on there, that's where we're going to turn on our Touch Cure light and we're going to freeze it into place. Okay, so let me go ahead and do this from the front view. And you guys, if you're learning anything, make sure you hit that subscribe button. The more you guys subscribe, the more education we can give you. So make sure to hit that button. All right, so again, we're going to start at a slight downward angle. I'm going to touch that down to the nail, and now you can start to see that gel adhering, okay? As I set that down, I'm going to just gently slide back, and I will still leave just a tiny little bit of space right in that back area. I don't want my product coming in contact with that with that skin. So I do leave just that tiny little bit of space back there. Here's another use for that brush. If you do have a little bit of that gel squeezing out the back, you can use that brush to clean that off. So again, it's not going to come in contact with the skin. Now we're just going to gently rock that product, or rock that tip down. So again, you're going to see that product adhering. Gently, 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 a little bit of pressure, a little bit more pressure. And all the way down to the end, it's going to press out that air pocket. Now I can slide that tip back just a little bit closer to that cuticle area. I'm going to check, make sure it is nice and straight. I'm going to hold that nail on there. Again, making sure everything is nice and straight, a little bit more pressure. I'm going to turn on my light and I'm going to freeze this nail into place. Now, I'm going to freeze this for maybe, I don't know, 10 to 20 seconds or so, just enough to set this tip into place, okay? And I want you guys to take a look here. So when I'm using that light, I'm not putting it right down on top of the nail. That would actually get really hot on the client. So give that nail about, I would say about 6 inches of space in between the light and that nail, okay? So once we've got that one on, we'll go to our second nail. And you guys, this is why I like to use the Touch Cure Light, because I'm going to be putting nails on all of these, and I do need to do a full cure of 60 seconds on here, but that's going to happen in our full UV LED light. This way I can just freeze each nail into place, and then we'll get that whole hand into the light to fully cure. But in the meantime, we're going to do that same application. I'm going to set down my gel, press that all the way into the well, just leaving that little bit of an edge on the sides. Add just a little bit more product right in the back. Make sure that's nice and clean in that back area. And again, we're going to take that tip at a slight down angle, set that onto the nail, connect there, press out any of those air pockets, gently rocking that down, and again, I can slide that back a little closer to my cuticle area, check and make sure it's nice and straight, and then again, we'll turn on that Touch Cure Light and we will freeze this nail into place. Again, we're going to go into this light for maybe about 10 to 20 seconds or so, just to secure that tip on there. And then once it's secure, at this point, it's not going anywhere, but that gel underneath isn't completely cured out. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this hand, and we're going to put that into our UV LED light, and we're going to fully cure that for 60 seconds, okay? Now, while that's curing, I'm going to show you guys all of the beautiful colors that we're going to be using for our design today. And today we're going to be working with our Manicure Gel Polish collection. And I've got a whole bunch of fun summery colors here. It's still summer. We're not quite at the end of summer just yet, but we're getting there. But still summer colors. So our base color that we're going to be using is Ballerino, and this is actually the same color that I've got on my nails, on my accent nails here. So it's just a really pretty soft pink. It's got a little bit of a shimmer to it, a little bit of a pearl to it. So it's a beautiful color just on its own, but it's going to be a great base color for the rest of our designs. And I'm going to grab one of our little art palettes here, and I'm going to take a little bit of each of these colors and put those onto the art palette. We're going to use our colors off of the art palette, but this is also going to show you guys all of our different gorgeous colors that we're using. So the first one is Turquoise 101. Just a beautiful, beautiful oceany turquoise. This always reminds me of the ocean. And this one has a little bit of that pearl shimmer to it as well. Then we're going to be using Aquamarine 101, which is definitely an aquamarine. I think these two are probably a couple of my favorite colors. This one doesn't have any of that shimmer though. This is more of a cream kind of a color. And then we've also got Hot Pink 101. You guys, if you are needing a hot pink for the summer, this is your color. This is absolutely gorgeous. It's super bright. It's so much fun. I absolutely love this color. And then we've got Baby Royal, which is, you guys, I like to call this one a neon lavender. I don't know if that's the correct term for it, but to me, that's what it looks like. maybe a little bit more pink than lavender, but just a really fun, bright, pinky purpley, just a bright color. And then Aloe 101 is a little bit of a soft green, kind of a grassy green actually. And this one also has a little bit of that metallic look. So you can see on this one's labeled as a metallic, so you're gonna notice that it's got a little bit of that metallic shimmer to it, okay? And then our last color is Yellow Neon 101. And this one it's a yellow neon. It is a very bright, sunshiny yellow. I absolutely love this one for summer designs too. All right, so we've got our colors set out here. I'm actually gonna set those off to the side because our nails are fully cured out and ready to go now. But you can see there's a little bit of a catch right on the edge of that. I actually like to go through with either my 180 file buffer combo or that 150 grit file, and I like to just straighten out my edges maybe a little bit. If there's anything that did overlap on that edge, make sure you get that cleaned up off the edge. But even with my stiletto tips, I actually like to give them just a little bit of a reshape because I feel like I want them a little bit straighter. I feel like sometimes they can tend to look a little bit bowed out, but you can leave them like that if you like that shape. If you want them a little bit more of a tighter V shape on that free edge, you can straighten those out on the end as well. But always go through and check that free edge, check that little end, because sometimes they do have that little tag kind of hanging there, and that's just from how the tips are, how they're molded in the molds when they're manufactured. That's the word I was looking for. So again, just gonna go through, kind of taper that in a little bit. Now, when we're working with our gel polishes, we want to make sure that we're applying these to a textured surface. You can see right now that they've got a smooth, shiny surface. So we need to go through and remove that shiny surface. So I'm going to be using that same medium sanding band, and I'm going to go through and I'm going to taper down that back cuticle area so that we don't have that ledge of the tip in the back. And then I'm also going to go through and just gently remove the shine from the whole surface. So this way, again, our gel polish is going to adhere really nicely. And you always want to make sure that you're completely removing the shine from these edges. I think sometimes we get working a little bit fast and maybe you're feathering your bit and you miss that edge. Do you see how it's still shiny right up there? If you miss that edge, what's going to happen is your gel polish is going to want to peel away from that shiny spot. So always make sure that you completely remove that shine all the way up those edges and make sure everything is clean. Make sure it's textured, make sure that there's no shine left on there, okay? Somebody's asking, what can I use if I don't have that? If you don't have the electric file, you could go through with your 150 grit hand file and you could remove the shine that way. Personal preference, I will tell you that it's much easier to use the electric file. And somebody says that stuff hurts. You guys, if you are using the techniques that we teach you, it's not going to hurt. You guys, you're using the electric file should not hurt. Having enhancements on, having nails on of any kind should not hurt. If it is hurting, then we might need to check the techniques that are being used. But I use this on myself all the time. I think somebody asked earlier who does my nails, and you guys, I do my own nails, and so I know exactly how the electric file feels on my nails. And let me show you guys something. All I'm doing is just making contact. So this is the amount of pressure that I'm using when I'm working with this bit. I'm not putting any pressure. It's not hurting me. It's not going to damage or anything like that. If you're using that proper pressure, it's going to be nice and safe. Okay, now I'm going to turn this off. If you were using a lot of pressure and you were putting pressure on that nail, that is going to hurt. That's going to start to build up some heat on there and some friction on there. So that's why you want to make sure you're just making contact with that bit. You're not putting pressure and moving that bit. Okay, so keep that in mind if you're working with the electric file. And again, you guys, we've got a ton of videos here on our YouTube channel for you about electric filing. So if you need more education about that, again, make sure to hit that subscribe button and come back and find all of those videos. You guys, all of our education here on YouTube is free, so make sure you take advantage of it. I mean, if you're learning to do nails and you're wanting to learn how to do nails, I'll tell you, we're the place to learn to do nails. All right, so all I'm doing is just dusting this nail off, just like we were doing earlier when we prepped. And you can see there is still a little bit of that dust hanging out. So we do want to cleanse this nail one more time, but earlier we were using our swipe to cleanse the natural nail. Swipe has a little bit of acetone to it, and we want to make sure that we're not using acetone on the plastic tips because we've already gone through and created texture on the surface. If we use too much swipe, that acetone in the swipe will actually smooth out that surface. So what we want to use to cleanse instead is our manicure cleanser. And this is an alcohol-based cleanser. So we're going to just pump a little bit of that onto our manicure brush, and then we can go through and cleanse off that nail, dust off that nail, get any dust out from underneath, all the way up around those sides. And this is going to dry, and it's going to leave us back to that textured surface. Okay? All right. One more coat of Protein Bond, just because we want to add a little bit more of a sticky surface. So same thing as we did earlier, we're going to coat the whole entire nail, catching those edges. Make sure to catch those edges. And I'll take a little bit more, work that right back up to our cuticle area, and then all the way through. Now on our natural nail, we applied 2 coats of the Protein Bond, but when we're applying over the tip here and we're going to be just doing our gel polish, we only need to do 1 coat of the Protein Bond. So that's all we're going to do, just to give our nails a little bit more of a sticky surface. All right, so you guys, the color that I said we're going to be using for the base color is Ballerino. So we're going to start with that, and we're going to just polish on a nice thin even coat of this. And especially when I'm working on longer nails like this, I like to start about halfway up, cap my edges. Whoops, you guys, I got a little polish on the skin there. I'm going to grab our Polish Perfector brush. And if you haven't tried this brush, oh, you guys, you're missing out. It's an absolutely amazing brush. It's got a little bit of a kind of a edge to it, so you can use this to get right in there and clean off any product or any polish that you got onto that skin or on that cuticle. And especially when you're working with the gel polish, you want to make sure that you do clean any product off the skin right away, because you don't want to be overexposing your client to that product. Okay, so make sure that you clean off any little oopses that you may have made on that skin. Make sure to clean that off before you cure, because you really don't want to be curing that product onto the skin. Okay, so make sure, go through, clean off that any little bits that you may have touched the skin. We try really hard to keep the product on the nail and not touch the skin, but you guys, y'all know, sometimes things happen. Sometimes you may get the little shaky shakes or whatever, and you may accidentally get product up on the skin. Just make sure that you do clean that off right away. Okay, so we're going to be getting this hand back into the light. We're going to cure that now for a minimum of 30 seconds, okay? So in that 30 seconds, I'm gonna grab my other colors here. I may do a second coat of our base color, but we'll see. We'll take a look at it and see. So I've got my colors that we're gonna be using. I'm also using a dotting tool, and the one that I have has a larger bead on one end and then a smaller bead on the other end. If you don't have a dotting tool, you can use toothpicks, you can use the end of a brush. Let me show you here real quick. Sometimes I'll use the end of my art brushes here for a dotting tool. So you can just dip in there and you can use those as a dotting tool like that. So use what you've got, but if you needed to use a toothpick, you can use a toothpick. And I think I'm gonna do one more coat of our color, and then I'm gonna show you how to customize your toothpicks. I know that kind of sounds weird, but you can customize your toothpicks to get a larger dot or a smaller dot, depending on how much you customize it. So I'm going to show you just a quick little trick with that. Now I am doing a second coat here. I don't know that we would have to do a second coat, but a lot of times I like to do that second coat just for a little bit more durability, especially when I'm working over just a full cover tip here. That second coat of gel polish is going to give our extension just a little bit more durability, and especially because we're working on a longer nail, I want to make sure that it's got a little bit more durability to it. So let's get that into the light for another 30 seconds. So if you are using your toothpicks, make sure you're using clean toothpicks, you guys. Nothing gross here, okay? And you can see that if we use a toothpick as a dotting tool, you can use that end of it and you're going to be creating really teeny tiny dots. You can barely even see those on camera, right? So if you need to create a larger dot, take an old toenail clipper or an old nipper. Don't use your nice new ones that are really nice and sharp. You don't want to dull them out, but you can clip off that point of your toothpick. And you can see let me show you on this end. There's a really narrow tapered end here, and back here it's a little bit wider. So if you want those wider dots, you can clip off that end and you're going to get a little bit of a wider dot. Now I've just run my file over the top of that to just kind of smooth it out a little bit so it's not going to have little frayed edges. But with this one now, you can create those larger dots. Okay, so you've got options if you don't have a dotting tool. All right, our nail is done, and I think we're ready to go. So I'm going to start on our first nail here. We'll do that middle nail there. And we're going to be creating just some really easy dot flowers. And we're going to allow these petals to bloom. And what I'm going to be using for my quote unquote blooming gel is our stain resistant top coat. Now it is a top coat. That's really what it's designed to be used as, but I found that this works amazing as a blooming gel. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a coat of our stain resistant. We're going to brush this on. Now, if you want your designs to bloom or spread a little bit more, you want to apply a little bit of a thicker layer. If you only want them to bloom kind of slow or just a little bit, do a thinner layer. And I think I'm going to do just a little bit of a thinner layer on this one, making sure that it is nice and smooth and even all the way through. And then I'm going to grab my dotting tool. Now I'm going to show you this on our tile here real quick first. I'm going to create a flower pattern, and we're going to do 3 dots, 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to fill in the space 1, 2. Okay, so that's what we're going to do on the nail. And sometimes it goes a little bit quick, especially when you are doing these kind of blooming designs. You do have to work quickly. So I'm going to work quick, but I just wanted to show you how I was going to lay those out before I actually did. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to pick up just a little bit more. 1, 2. I'm going to do another one down here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. So now you can see that those are starting to bloom. They're starting to spread. If you want to, you can also use your micro detailer brush. If you want to maybe pull those little petals in towards the center, get them to kind of blend in or pull in just a little bit more. And once you like how that design is looking, get that into the light. Now, you guys, this could be another time where you would use that touch cure light. So that same touch cure light that I was using to cure the nails into place, you could definitely use this as well, okay? But if you're able to get that client into the light, that's gonna work really well too. All right, now we're gonna add a few little petals to our nail, to our little flower design. Somebody says it looks like an orchid. It kind of does. So depending on how you place your petals and how you allow them to bloom is going to change the shape of your flower. And you guys, we're going to do a second style of a flower on this nail, so make sure to stick around. Don't leave just yet. We're not done. But yeah, however you place your petals, you're going to get different designs however you place those little beads. So we're going to add some leaves to this. So that's where my aloe comes in, my green. we're going to do a second layer of the stain resistant. One more over here. Again, a nice thin layer. Nice thin layer over there. And I only froze that first layer into place for maybe 20 to 30 seconds or so. I still have my micro detailer brush, so I didn't tell you guys really about that, but this is our micro detailer brush, just a teeny tiny little brush that I like to use for some accenting. And we're gonna pick up a little bit of that green, and I think I'm gonna put a petal right here, or a leaf right here, so we're gonna dot, and I think another one right down here maybe. And then I'm gonna take my brush, I'm gonna pull in towards the flower and then away from the flower. And this is going to just give us a little bit more of that leaf look. And again, just allowing that to bloom a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and use my Touch Cure Light. I'll show you guys this here. Use that Touch Cure Light to freeze that into place. Again, just setting this into place. This isn't completely curing it. Now make sure that you don't have that little, your tile with your colors on that. Make sure that's not under the light because you don't want to cure your colors on your tile there. So again, just maybe 20 seconds or so to freeze that into place. And then just for a little accent, let's add a center. So if we take a little bit, I'm just going to clean off my dotting tool here. I think we're going to grab maybe a little bit of, what color do you guys want in the center? Let me know. Let me know, do you want blue? Do we want to do yellow in the center? What do you think is going to look good on this? I think, I think maybe blue. But you guys let me know what color you would have chosen. So we're going to do, now this time I didn't apply a layer of the stain resistant. I don't want this one to bloom. So this one I'm just going to dot right in the center, And I think I like how that is. You guys are saying yellow and blue? All right, so we did blue. You guys, I'll layer in another color just to make everybody happy. So we can do that blue. Now, if you wanted that blue to bloom out a little bit, you could have added another coat of that stain resistant and add that in. Otherwise, let's take a little bit of that yellow. We'll take our smaller end of our dotting tool and just right in the center there. So those of you that wanted blue, you got your blue. Those of you that wanted the yellow, you get your yellow. So I think we're good. We're covering all our bases. All right, so again, just freezing this into place 20 to 30 seconds or so. And somebody says, if a black bottle of gel polish is near the UV light, will it dry through the bottle? So you guys, these bottles are coated. So as long as they are closed and sealed up, if they're in front of that light, they should be fine. Now, do I take the chance with it? No, I always try to keep all of my gels away from my light to make sure that they don't cure, but it should be fine. Now, our gels on our tile here, if this was in front of the light, yes, that would definitely cure, okay? So make sure that whatever you don't want cured stays away from the light, okay? Now you guys, this design is finished. We're not gonna top coat it just yet. We'll top coat everything all at the end, but make sure to hit that subscribe button before I do our next design. That way I know that you guys really wanna see this design. So hit that subscribe button. All right, so our next design is gonna be more of a full coverage bloom. So same thing, we're gonna use those same colors that we've got here. I'm going to use my stain resistant top coat again. We're going to take that top coat and we're going to brush on a nice thin layer. Now with this one, you're going to have to work a little bit on the quicker side because this is a full nail design. And sometimes when you start, say you start, actually let me show you guys on this one. So see on this one, the dots down here have not spread quite as much as the dots up here. That's because I started with the dots up here and finished with the ones down here. These had more time to spread and bloom. So you have to be aware of how you want your design to bloom and start with the ones that you want to bloom the most, okay? So what I'm gonna do, I'm actually gonna turn this nail a little bit on the side and kind of work on the side because we're gonna be working from the center right here out to the sides here and all the way through that nail. So I'm going to start with, we're going to start with a little bit of that yellow. So I'm going to pick up a little yellow. I'm going to put a dot right there on the side, clean off my dotting tool. We'll grab some of that hot pink. I'm going to dot, dot, pick up a little more color, dot, dot, clean off my dotting tool. A little bit of that lavender purpley, dot, dot. We're just going to kind of come right around those edges, allowing our product to start to spread. And then I think we'll grab a little bit of that, what is that, turquoise? We're going to come back around here, dot, dot, all the way around. And you guys can start to really see that color starting to bloom. Maybe a little bit more right in there. Clean that off, and just a little bit of yellow accent on the outside here. So again, you guys, you can see that color starting to bloom, starting to move. Let me clean that little dot right off the side. So I'm going to give this a little bit of time to bloom and give it a little time to move. But to create more of a flower pattern, I'm going to take that micro detailer brush that I was using before, and we're just going to pull from the outside in. Clean your brush off as you go. Pull from the outside in. Pull from the outside in. Let's come back over here. Pull from the outside. Pull from the outside. So this is almost creating petals and kind of that flower look. So you can create whatever kind of designs you like. Pulling in towards that center, making a little bit more of a flower pattern. And it's still blooming, it's still moving as we're working here. So if you feel like it's bloomed enough and you want it to stop moving, get it under the light. If you feel like it needs to move a little bit more and you need to create a few more flower petals, give it a little bit more time. But I think I like how that is looking. So I'm going to get that one back into the light and freeze that into place quickly. And it gives you guys another chance to hit that subscribe button. And you know what, moderators, do we have time for maybe one more quick little bonus design? Moderators, if you're listening, let me know. Do we have time for one more bonus? Because I think we've got a lot of people in here that are subscribing, and I think you guys maybe you want to see one more. So moderators, let me know. Let me know in the chat there. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and top coat these. So those of you that know the top coat chant, let's start the top coat chant in the chat. Those of you that are new to our channel, make sure to hit subscribe. All right, I'm being told no, I can't do another design. You guys, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to subscribe while we're doing our top coat. Make sure to do our top coat chant in the chat. And if you don't know what the top coat chant is, just start typing in top coat, top coat, top coat, and that's our top coat chant. So while we're doing our top coat, you guys be texting in or typing that into our chat, and maybe we can convince our moderators how to do, or maybe we can convince our moderators to do another design. What do you guys think? Moderators, what is it going to take for me to be able to do another design? You guys, I think you guys gotta subscribe. We need a lot of subscribers here for me to do one more design, because my moderators are telling me no, I can't do it at this point. All right, so all I'm doing is just taking that same stain resistant top coat that I was using for our blooming gel, brushed a coat of that on, and somebody says, do it. All right, you guys, you got to subscribe. You got to subscribe. If we get enough subscribers, then I might be able to do another design here. But in the meantime, like I was saying, I was using that stain resistant top coat. So this is going to cure in the light for a full 60 seconds. When this is done, this is going to have a tacky finish to it. So we want to make sure that we are cleansing off that tacky finish. And to cleanse that, we're going to be using our swipe. So this is that same swipe, that same cleanser that we used to clean off that natural nail when we prepped. So we want to make sure that we're using swipe to cleanse that off. Now, we were talking about the manicure cleanser earlier. This may work okay, but it's really not as strong as the swipe. So I always recommend using the swipe to really make sure that you're cleansing off that top coat completely, okay? All right. Somebody says, why do you need their permission? You guys, I work for Young Nails, and my moderators, they moderate what I do here. So they tell me, you know, do we have enough time? Do we not have enough time? So we'll see. We'll see. All right, so our nail is cured out here, and we're going to go ahead and grab our swipe. Take a little bit of that on our lint-free wipe. We're going to cleanse this nail really quick. All right, moderators, come on, let me know. I'm begging one last time. Can we do one more quick design for our followers here? Come back next week. All right, you guys, I guess you got to come back next week. Actually, you guys got to come back tomorrow. Tomorrow, we always have our live streams on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So make sure you join us tomorrow. We'll be doing another fun summary kind of a design. Oh, the chat has spoken. All right, you guys. All right. Love it. So we're gonna do another one. We're gonna do just a really quick design. Let me grab, okay. So I had some nails ready to go here. Hopefully that we had enough time today. So I'm gonna do the same kind of thing. So I'm going to show you how to do these other two nails that we've got on here. So they're really quick designs, so it's not going to take you a lot of time. But we're going to start with that same color on the nails here as our base color. So that same color that I used on our other two. And again, this one is Ballerino. So we're going to do a quick coat of that. Wait, they said I can't do another? No, they said I can do another nail. Yes, I can do another nail. All right, so we're gonna pop that into the light for another 30 seconds just to freeze that into place. And these two, you guys, this one on the end here, I love how this one turns out because it's a lot like that aura look that you're seeing on a lot of people. So this is kind of a fun way to do a variation on that aura. And then this one is just going to be some little dots. You can lay out the pattern however you want to, totally up to you. But we've got that same base color on there. Now you could do a second coat of your color if you want to, but just for time's sake, I'm going to skip the second coat. But normally I would do a second coat, and I did do a second coat on all of the rest of these nails here. So just a quick design. Let's start, I think we'll start with this style. So this one, again, we're going back to our stain resistant and grab my little palette here. So on this one, I have to remember what colors I used. So on this one, I think I used the, let's see, Baby Royal. And I also think I used Aquamarine. So we're gonna do this in layers. So I got my dotting tool. You guys, I gotta have all of my stuff ready to go because once you get that that product on there, it is going to start flowing. So you gotta move a little bit quickly when you are doing the blooming designs. So again, coat of our stain resistant top coat all the way through. And then here's where it gets a little bit fun. So again, I have a tool that has a larger bead and then a smaller bead. I'm going to load up both of these. So I'm going to load up that larger bead and that smaller bead. And I'm going to alternate. So I'm going to start with the larger. And then I'm going to flip over to the smaller. Load them up again. Larger. Smaller. Load them up. Larger, whoops, smaller, larger, smaller. So this way we're going to have a little bit more definition. So our larger beads are going to spread a little bit more. Our smaller beads aren't going to spread as much. If you feel like you need to add a little bit more in there to get them to spread a little bit more, you can do that as well. But I think these are going to be okay for now. Okay, so again, we're just allowing these some time, allowing them to just kind of flow a little bit, spread a little bit. And then once you have that how you like it, you can either get that into the UV LED light, or I'm just going to freeze this one into place with that little touch cure light. And again, maybe 20 seconds or so to just set that into place, freeze that where it's at. And then we'll layer in another layer. So we're going to basically do the same exact thing that we just did, but with our second color. So yeah, let's see, that was about 20 seconds. We'll give it just a little bit longer here. You guys, you have to make sure that you are giving this enough time to set it into place, because otherwise, if you're not curing it long enough, you could actually smear that design when you go to put your next coat on. But I think that was long enough there. So now on top, we're gonna go back again to our stain resistant top coat. We're gonna brush on another nice thin even coat. And same thing, where'd my dotting tool go? We're gonna grab with the larger end and the smaller end. So again, we're gonna start with the large side, small side, reload. Large side, small side, reload. Large side, small side, reload. Large side, small side. And again, we'll give this time to move and to flow. And I think I probably used a little bit more of the blue on this than I did of the purple. So I think our blue might actually be showing up a little bit more. But you can still see how that kind of that two-tone, that aura look. And you guys, I'm telling you, camera never does these colors justice. Let me get in there nice and close. So you can really see that two-tone in there. So you do get more of that aura look to it, okay? So again, let's freeze this one into place once it is where you want it. And then you would finish this one with a top coat as well. So again, we'll freeze that into place, and then I'll show you that last design here. You guys are getting 2 bonus nails here. Kim's asking, does stain resistant work on hard gel over natural nails? Okay, so stain resistant top coat is a hard gel. So the one that we're using is a hard gel. So if you're using it on a natural nail gel manicure, it may be too rigid and may crack. So I would recommend using the stain resistant only over an enhancement. So whether it's over the full cover tips, whether it's on acrylic or hard gel, I would only recommend using this over an enhancement, not a natural nail. Okay? Good question though, good question. All right, you guys, keep subscribing, keep hitting that subscribe button. We gotta get all the rest of you guys to subscribe here. All right, so our next nail is gonna be this fun one right here with all of those different colors. Same thing, we've got that ballerino as our base color. And I'm gonna grab our stain resistant top coat. We're gonna do one more coat of stain resistant and flow that all the way through. Nice thin even coat. And again, on this design, because we're doing the whole nail, we really have to work extra quick. So we're gonna start with, guys, I'm trying to see my color layout here, how I got. Okay, so we're gonna start with our yellow right in that back corner. Actually, I'm gonna need a little bit more of that yellow. Clean that off, then we're gonna grab our pink, 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 pink. Clean that off, then we're gonna use some of that turquoise. And I'm leaving a little bit of space in between the colors, so that way it is gonna give it more space to bloom, okay? You don't wanna be putting them super close to each other, because otherwise they're not going to flow like you want them to. A little bit more of that baby royal right up in there. You guys, I probably should have put a little bit more onto my palette here, but that's okay. And then we'll go back to our yellow. And you can see I'm not making perfectly straight lines. I like to give it a little bit of a waver in some of them. That way it just gives it a little bit more of an interesting look. Give a little bit more movement. And let's see, can we squeeze in a little bit more here? teal. I think we're going to be good on that. I don't think I'm going to try to squeeze in the rest of the colors. But again, we're going to just allow this to just kind of bloom out a little bit. Just like if we were doing that, that flower that I showed you earlier, if you want to, you could take your micro detailer brush and pull through some of those lines. Now you guys, I am seeing on a couple of them, I did get a little bit of an air bubble on these when I was using that dotting tool and kind of touching that down. If you see that you're getting those little air bubbles, just use that micro detailer brush, go in there and you can just pop that little air bubble so that way you don't see that on the finished nail. Okay, so I think I've allowed this to bloom as much as I want it to. Let's go ahead and freeze that into place. Let's see, Tara says, YN has many products that can be used in other ways. Yes, you guys, that's why we do so many of these different videos for you, to show you how many options you have to use all of our different products. You guys, a few days ago, I showed you guys how to do the design that's in my nail. This design is used, done by using regular nail polish and glitter. And that's, well, it's in my gel, but you can use that nail polish in your gel. You can use all kinds of different products in different ways, and that's what we're here to teach you. So make sure to subscribe to our channel so that you can get all of that information. You can learn how to use our different products, use them successfully, and have a lot of fun with them. So that's what we're here for, and that's why we love to see you guys subscribing to the channel. So that way you guys can get all of that great education. All right, you guys, I think that was our last nail. So let's go ahead and finish these up again with top coat. So make sure hit that subscribe button, and then let's go ahead and do our top coat chant one more time, because it's just a lot of fun to finish our nails and finish our designs with you guys involved in the chat. So start that top coat chant in the chat, and if you don't know what that means, all you do is type in top coat, top coat, top coat as I top coat these nails. And again, I'm just finishing these with our stain resistant top coat. If you prefer, you could actually use any of our other top coats. You could use our ultimate finish top coat, you could use our manicure top coat, whichever one works for you is just fine. Now I am going to put those into the light to give that a full final cure, because again, when you're using the stain resistant top coat, this does need to fully cure. And as we've been working, we were kind of using the touch cure light to just freeze those layers into place. So now we do need to do that full cure to make sure that all of our gels are curing all the way through. So again, once our stain resistant top coat does come out, it is going to have that tacky surface. We would need to cleanse that with our swipe, and then we will have our beautiful designs. So you guys, I'm not gonna take the time to finish up those, because I did show you how to cleanse our two nails that we did all the way through here, and I do have those designs done here on the nails, so you guys can see all of the different fun ways you can use our stain resistant top coat with our manicure color gel polishes and create your own beautiful blooming designs. All right, you guys, one last chance to hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that for us. Give us all of the likes, all of the follows. We appreciate you guys so much for being here. I hope you guys had a lot of fun today, because I sure did. I had so much fun creating these nails for you guys. So join us again next time. Oh, and make sure to check out, I think we're okay to talk about this, but we do have a back to school sale starting tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So make sure to check out the website with all of those great bundles and deals and things that we've got going on for you guys. So check us out on the website tomorrow. Check us out. We'll be live again tomorrow about the same time, and we will see you guys back then. Thanks, everyone.